Good evening, this is the XS Manchester Football Social. It is Thursday and it's the Full-Time Devils takeover because the Premier League is back and we are dead happy. Three men who are probably happier than me sitting right in front of me. I've got Webby. Evening, Webby.
Evening, Joe.
Andy Tate, good evening.
Good evening.
And Statman Dave. How are you doing, Statman?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well. Statman Dave will be here with Andy Tate and Webby with you till 7 o'clock tonight. If you want to get in touch tonight about anything Manchester United, give us a call. 0345 111 7625. That is 0345 111 7625. Webby describes the weekend as a must-win game for Manchester United. Do you agree? And are you confident as a United fan that it is going to be a win for Manchester United? We're going to be speaking about a lot of things today. One includes Paul Scholes. It's his birthday. We'll be celebrating your favourite memories of the man, the midfield magician. Get in touch with yours now, 87711. All of us around the table here are going to be, in about 20 minutes, just sharing the memories of Paul Scholes in a sort of happy birthday Scholesy kind of way. And we want yours too. 87711. We'll be getting some stuff off our chest and also the build-up to the Premier League being back in our lives. Statman Dave, your first appearance on the show. Thank you very much for coming on XS Manchester. Can we ask you, and can you tell the listeners, why you are known as Statman Dave?
I think it's the stats.
You hold the stats?
Yeah, I hold the stats.
You got all the stats
power. And I think that's it. That's why I'm the stat man.
Have you always been, sort of as a kid, interested in the world of stats?
I think it's like Football Manager. To be quite honest, football, for me, Football Manager, it comes together, and I think the stats on Football Manager got me involved with it. You want to check your average rating, your goals, your assists.
You got to these days.
You got to do that. You got to know these
Can't
things.
be naive.
You got to know whether you play Neymar or you play Kaká. So it's one of these things that just excites me.
Oh, well, very good. And you've got a stat for everyone today, but it's going to be a quiz question.
Oh, it's going to be a quiz
So
question.
instead of me picking one out of the blue and not giving you the answer by the end of the show, Statman Dave has got one. It's a bit mad, but we want you to get in touch tonight. 87711. Find us on Twitter at XS Manchester. Statman Dave, what is today's question?
So today's question, since Marouane Fellaini joined Manchester United, what percentage of goals has Ashley Young assisted with crosses?
Easy, that one. 87711. Getting your messages now. Get the answer in, and we'll be giving you, if you've missed it, we're making sure you hear it throughout the show, and we'll be telling you the answer. Statman Dave giving you the answer at the back end of the show. We will preview Newcastle very soon, but let's talk about players that might be making an appearance in the game. Webby, you look very confident with the fact that you think one man who United had been missing might be back in the starting 11, hopefully on the bench, and that man is Paul Pogba. What do you know? Are you thinking that, the signs are good? He's out and about, he's with the team, he's at charity balls. Will he be in the starting 11?
He's been flying in training for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It was shocked me when he never played at Chelsea. Obviously, friend who's at Carrington told me that, and it shocked me. I said to you that he'd play at Chelsea, and I was surprised he wasn't involved. 100% he'll start Saturday. Need him, definitely. He's the only player we've got who'll run at teams. He's got to play, he's been dancing on Instagram for the last 2 months. It looks fit enough to me. Yeah, he's got to play him. We go full strength, because if you look at it, come kick-off time, there's more added pressure, and we could be 11 points behind City. So we go with your strongest. I know we're at Bale next week away, but you take the first game, we're virtually qualified, aren't we, for the Champions League next phase. So Newcastle will make it hard, I just still can't get my head around that press conference of Moyes. It still gives me nightmares when he said, we'll make it hard as possible for Newcastle. We're champions of England. Newcastle have not won a bowl of soup since 1938. And he makes a comment like that. It still frightens me now, but be a tough game. Benitez will have them set up, but we'll have enough to beat Newcastle. Not
just necessarily about the player he is, but what I alluded to in previous shows is that he brings a sense of calm to the team, and he brings a character, Andy Tate, that you love to see in the United squad.
Yeah, all you got to see is before he got his injury, United, we were flying first 6-7 games of the season, and he is a key part of the team, and I hope, like I say, he's playing Saturday, and it's a pivotal game for that to kickstart our season again.
Statman, is there any stats key to this sort of debate of why we've been missing Pogba? What does he bring to the sort of United team?
I think it's the link-up. It's pretty much everything. I think it's both him on the ball, him off the ball, him on the counter-attack. There's so many factors that Paul Pogba gives this United team that makes them a better team in a way. You know, one stat, for example, 2 goals and 2 assists. He's been directly involved in more goals than any other central midfielder in the Premier League. From central midfield, that is very, very impressive. But not only can he command the ball, can he dictate the play, but it was really, like Webby said, the dribbling. That's what was so impressive, how he transitioned attacks in the back end of games. You're thinking, the games where United was so dominant, the Swansea game where it was 1-0 up until the last sort of 10 minutes, Pogba starts rocking, moved into central midfield, United go 4-5-1, and they just explode on the counter-attack. They've scored more goals in the last 10 minutes of games than any other side in the Premier League this season. I think they're on 11 now, and the next team are on 6, which is Manchester City. So I think Pogba not only helps United on the ball, off the ball, in the transition, it's absolutely everything, and he's our best player.
Do we have to look at Pogba getting back in this team, doing what he does best, because obviously we have missed him, and then there's another name floating about that maybe Ibra might be back, Zlatan Ibrahimovic might be back for Manchester United. At the start of the season I came on the show and was very wary about what his role, but I've been sort of proven over the last couple of weeks we might need him back in the squad.
I don't think you'll see him Saturday, maybe wrong. I think you could see him more the Bristol game, maybe West Brom. Like I said to you, he's a great player to have in and around the squad. His experience, and proved it last year with his goal tally, and he's not finished yet. So don't rush him back. I know he was looking a bit tired in training, I got told, because obviously he's chomping at the bit to get back there. He's a 36-year-old bloke, but thinks he's 21. A bit like me and Andy on a Saturday night. But obviously, let's get him back. He can only be an addition to the squad. Yeah. I don't think Jose will rush him back. I've got something in mind for Bristol City away where he'll make his comeback. But you never know.
I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to go. He'll play a part in the derby.
The derby's when he's come back. The return to the derby.
He'll play some part in that game. If we're losing, throw him on and he'll make a difference.
Do you see his sort of inclusion in the squad as a good thing for Manchester United, or do you think they should be focusing on the players who've got at the moment? Lukaku, Rashford, Martial. Do you not think that United, who spent a lot of time and money on these players, need to sort of focus on making sure they get the best out of them first before sort of going to a 36-year-old striker who may be past his best?
I think it's a great thing. I think having that option off the bench, but also having it in the squad, as the chaps have mentioned, is very important for the development of Rashford, for the development of Anthony Martial, and even Lukaku. Imagine United a goal down in a game, instead of throwing on Marouane Fellaini and that being the only option, you can throw on Fellaini, you can throw on Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and then you've got a very physical side. Imagine, you've got Fellaini as an attacking midfielder, and ahead of that you've got Lukaku and Zlatan. You could be throwing balls up, and I think that's the big thing with United under Mourinho. They go quite direct when they're chasing a game, and that will work if you have those players that I've just mentioned.
What are the key elements that have been going wrong for United in the past couple of games, in your opinion?
You see, I didn't mind the performance against Liverpool. I thought that defensively, United were on point. Liverpool are one of the best attacking teams in the Premier League. Let's not forget that. In terms of going forward, they're really good. It's in a defensive transition, they're quite poor. The thing that I'd say there is that maybe they didn't catch Liverpool out enough when United had the ball. I thought Ashley Young did well at the start, but maybe could have been used in a bit better position in the second half. Thought the Tottenham game, United tactically were perfect in a defensive sense. Got the win, game over. There's positivity that needs to be had with United fans around these results. Having those, picking up 4 points from those 3 games for me is all right. I think the Chelsea game slightly different, a bit frustrating that game. I understand why people are frustrated. Too open, not good enough going forward. There were issues.
What do you make about my comments that I'll obviously say to you now, Webby, that I miss the leadership in Manchester United. I miss the person who stands out above the crowd. I miss the person who will go and make the point of picking the lads' heads back up and making sure that 1-0 win against Chelsea isn't the final score. It's a 2-1 win for United, and we don't have that. And you and Andy and we have seen teams of the past have leaders that are just miles better than the ones we've got now. But do you not think that that's missing from the game in general in a way? It's not just United.
I wouldn't say missing from the game. I think there's plenty of teams with leaders. We've not got a leader. A perfect leader. For me, we've not had a leader since Keane left. We replaced Robson with Keane. Yeah. We've never replaced Keane.
Never replaced them.
I know Vidic, but Vidic is a different. I was at defence and he'd do his stuff, and he was a great player, Vidic, but out and out leaders. I remember Phil Neville telling me a few stories about him doing step overs, and Keane grabbed him by the throat. We were 3-0 up. If we were 3-0 down and he's stepping over, then fair enough. But we were winning the game 3-0. He said he got me by the throat. Don't ever do that again.
It's the person, isn't it, that we're missing. I don't know if you might agree with this. That is the person that gets you. I don't think there's anyone in the dressing room. I'm not saying, obviously people care.
We lost a lot of big players at one time. You Vidic,
and we never really recovered.
Those players were massive for us, absolutely massive. To lose one's bad enough, but we lost 3 there, and it was hard, and it was hard for the lads coming in. We lost 3 big characters.
But we need that. We need the current squad to become leaders. We've got a lot of young players, and that's something that maybe isn't sort of seen on this squad. That there's a lot of, you're thinking Eric Bailly, 23, Lindelof, 23. You're thinking, Pogba, who is one of the senior players, Lukaku, 24 years old. I think that's a thing that, in a way, these guys just need that time, maybe, with maybe the right influence. I think Zlatan, like we mentioned, it needs the perfect influence to be this leader, and then teach these guys, look, you're closing in on 26, 27, you become the leader, you pick the boys up. But again, it's a learning process. United, in a way, are in a bit of a transition from that last great team. They still are.
They still are, because it was such a great team. But if I was to say to you then, Dave, about if we kept the same squad now, as hypothetical, for the next 2 or 3 years, who in like 2 or 3 years' time, if we give them that transition period, do you think can pick up the reins of the likes of Keane? Is there anyone in the current squad who has that heart for United that can do what the likes of Keane and Robbo did?
I think that you could see players like Phil Jones grow. If he stays injury fit, if he can injury free, if he can stay that, get a season underneath him, he can become a leader within the squad. But maybe you'll see someone like, like a Jess Lingard, like a Marcus Rashford, someone that you don't expect to be a great leader, or who doesn't appear to be a great leader, to be a good leader. You think that team, you had Evra, who was a leader, you had Vidic, who was a leader, Ferdinand, Giggs, Scholes. These guys weren't leaders at the start of their career. Apart from Vidic, who was probably a leader from when he was about 2 years old till now. Those players grew. Ryan Giggs, would you say, from him being a flying winger when he was 21 to the end of his career, how much he developed in that leadership role? I think that's the thing with United, that it will just take a little bit of time, and maybe having someone to stop the gap, like a Zlatan, then when Zlatan goes, getting someone like a Diego Godin, or, just another player around Europe that's got that experience. It could be a good stepping stone to promote these guys. Like a Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford loves the club. Absolutely loves the club. Defensively works very hard, off the ball works very hard. He has the right mentality to be a really good leader. So why could he not step up over the time and then become that focal point of Manchester United in that leadership sense?
What do you think, Andy?
About
a player, someone inside United at the minute that you'd love, to see as the next sort of United leader?
I would go with Dave. I would definitely go for Rashford. Progress through the club and become a leader go from the front to the back and just progress, and everyone can look up to him. I think Phil Jones, Chris Smalling needs to take a bit of a responsibility now, and both Phil Jones as well. That they can be examples, and the younger players can look up to him.
When Carrick goes, we will be at a point where a lot of the team that Sir Alex Ferguson sort of sculpted to win the Champions League 2008 will sort of disappear and float away, and we'll be, in a sense, left on our own. And at this moment in time, I'm a bit worried that United aren't ready for that, in a way, and I think that's some of the cracks that you can see in the United squad are down to that. But do you see any sort of sense of recovery? Is it spending more money, or is it just getting the people in the squad now to realise what playing for Manchester United is about?
Joe, if they don't realise now, mate, they shouldn't be in the club.
I don't think they do realise.
Well, they should do, mate, because as soon as they put that shirt on or sign that contract or go out on that training ground and see that badge, they should know. I'd run through brick walls to come on for United, so that shouldn't be a problem. And obviously, you're saying about Carrick there, he's been doing a lot of the training this year, for the team, and whether Jose's going to keep him there, it'd be a sad day, when you look at that 2008 team. I was over in Moscow, it was a great team, that. And obviously people get older and they've gone one by one. So it'll be a sad day when Michael leaves the club, but I hope they keep him in carrying on coaching, give him something along the lines there. But we were speaking the other day at the Salford game. You look at some of these clubs now, brought old players back. Surely there's a job for Scholes at United. If you're the kid in midfield there trying to get a career, and that man's training you, what does that do to you? Because I know what it'd do to me. So surely we've got to be bringing some of these old-time players who are not doing anything,
He's right.
back into the club, you know what I mean? And if he's going to build the kids' confidence up, and I think that's what we miss at United.
I don't know how Matt's done it on Twitter, but he's got the the question completely spot on. The answer to
Matt,
the question.
Go out a bit more.
I don't know how he's done it, but he's got on the spot on there the answer. Statman Dave, for anyone who missed the question at the beginning, can you give it again?
Since Marouane Fellaini joined Manchester United, What percentage of goals has Ash Young assisted with crosses?
87711. We're going to be speaking about Paul Scholes after the break, as well as speaking to Rick Witter from Shed 7. We're also going to be having a chat with Mr. Porky, who's gone viral, and bringing you the latest on Newcastle. I just want to give you a quick sort of rundown of the price of football the BBC have done, and just bringing you some headlines from that around Manchester United. Every year the BBC does a sort of generic, so it looks very deep into the world of football and how much it costs us fans, which is a big thing for us. Manchester United have topped the list for the most expensive cup of tea.
Don't drink tea.
Don't drink tea. £2.50. Also the most expensive, what we were talking about last week, jerseys, replica kits, the most expensive adult top and the most expensive kids top. But in a way, they still coming out looking respectable with the season ticket prices. Sort of no increase of late, but it is still a very expensive thing to be a Manchester United fan.
I just don't get on this thing about replica football shirts. I don't wear them myself. We spoke about that last week, but how much your top's now? 60 quid.
Yes, it's 60 quid.
Yeah, but you could go to town and buy a T-shirt for 100 quid and wear your top more than it. So it's what people want. You know what I mean, Joe? Don't see the point.
No. You could get a shirt, a pair of jeans, and a pair of shoes for a night out for 60 quid. If you're lucky.
What I find strange is like the cost around like going, you go abroad and you go and watch like some random team somewhere, like a Leipzig or something like that. You go to the club shop and it's like €80, €90. That used to be like €20, and then that'd be value. And I think it reflects the English market as well. But it's all around Europe. I went to Croatia in the summer. Same type of thing. Went to Hajduk Split. The shirt was €90. And I think it's one of these things where I just wanted a cool replica shirt, but I can't afford it. No.
It's one man's birthday today, and that man is Paul Scholes. And it's time we just sit back and have a chat about the man who, for many of us, is an idol, midfield magician, as he was called. And I want us to share with us the sort of greatest memories you've got of that man. I'm going to start off with mine. Keep the ball rolling. And mine was when it was, I think it was 2010 or 11. I can't really remember the exact date, but it was after...
Got Statman there. Dave's there, he'll tell you.
He'll tell me, Dave. When Paul went into retirement and came back out of it in January. Was that 2011 or 10? Who knows? Anyway, what he did was he came out of retirement, and I just remember the feeling as a United fan of having this man, although he didn't play in the first game, which was the derby, can I just point out, the derby match was the next game. Paul Scholes comes out of retirement, Alex Ferguson's still in charge, and it was like they were getting the band back together. And I remember thinking as a United fan, this is class. And obviously, we then went on to beat City 3-2, and it was a great game, and he stayed with us for the rest of the season. And for me, that memory of missing him, like we all did when he left, missing him, and then remember, because you don't know what you got till it's gone, do you?
No,
but then we lost him. He came back. Happy days. And that, for me, was one of my favourite memories of Paul Scholes coming back to Manchester United, spending half the season with us, and just...
He scored on the following Saturday against Bolton at home, and I think half the ground had him for first goal. He scored the first goal against
making everyone
Bolton.
Very happy.
Yeah.
So what, Webby?
Obviously, you can talk about his goals. Some of the lads are going to speak on. But one for me is a goal against Panathinaikos at Old Trafford in the Champions League. It was something like 40, 50 passes. Dave will probably tell me that many passes. And he ends it a little flick. Yorkie puts it into Sheringham, a little flick, and he just dinks a keeper, and it just summed the man up, you know what I mean? And I seen a tweet like this week and nearly fell off my chair. Some City fan.
You're always falling off your chair. You're going to have to get a better chair, Webby.
This tweet was unreal. It's Paul Scholes is the most overrated player in the Premiership. What an absolute clown. Saying, you can see what the other players have said about him, around the world. Like Guardiola said he was the best midfielder in a generation. Zidane said the most difficult opponent he's played against. And these players are absolute world-class players. And to say something like that, and you've got this City person coming on saying, I think Paul Scholes is a bit overrated.
Even Xavi and Iniesta complimented him as well.
Tate, what is your memory?
2006, Villa Park, absolute thunderbolt to set us on our way to a 3-0 victory. Corner, first time, bang. The net was still vibrating like 10 minutes after we scored. Fantastic.
Last times. Statman Dave?
So first up, we need to clarify a few things. I think it says it was a 32-pass move.
32-pass move.
It was, in fact, in the 2012-13 season that Paul Scholes came out of retirement. But in terms of my moment, and I take you back to April the 29th, 2008.
Oh, aye.
Champions League semi-final. United had gone away to Barcelona. Ronaldo, unfortunately, had missed a penalty kick that would have given United a massive away goal. 14th minute comes. The ball comes out to Scholes, pops up, bounces up. He hits it with his right foot. Kind of mishits it. The reports afterwards, the interview says he mishit it. He didn't hit it properly, but it was so good. It was hit in such a way, swerving away from the keeper, top right corner. An unbelievable goal, and it sort of encapsulated that period of Manchester United for me where Paul Scholes was the pinnacle in that midfield, controlled absolutely everything, and for me that is why that was the best goal for Paul Scholes of all time, the beautiful goal that got United to a Champions League final.
Scholes, hope you're listening. You enjoyed that. We'd miss you every day, and maybe we'll get a player like you in the United squad sometime soon. We're going to be trailing towards Newcastle very shortly, but first it's Shed 7 Day on XS Manchester. They've got a new album out. They want you to go and get it. It's called Instant Pleasures. I spoke to Rick Witter, the lead man of Shed 7, who is a massive United fan. I just wanted a general chat with him about how he thinks the season's going so far, and this is what he had to say. Rick, good evening. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. It's a weird sort of time as a United fan. The start of the season was great.
Obviously, last season was a kind of transitional time, wasn't it? And obviously, the start of the season was the time where you're thinking, right, let's build on that. And the first 4 or 5 games, this is it. We're back. We're back in the big league. And then all of a sudden, the wheels have started to come off a little bit.
Slowly came off, and people are questioning why the wheels have come off. And a lot of people are pointing towards Mourinho, and they're saying stuff like he's sort of losing it again. And they're saying that maybe his management isn't too great at this point. But what do you see when you watch United?
Listen, I think there's too much emphasis these days put on stuff. It's too early, obviously he's got to prove himself, but we're second in the league. We're doing really well in Europe. It's not doom and gloom quite yet. Obviously the fact that the other half of the city are doing so well doesn't help matters, does it really?
We got Newcastle on the weekend, hopefully back to sort of winning ways, and then it's a sort of tough December away because we've got Arsenal and City. The Manchester derby is always a big one. They are playing, let's say, quite well at the minute. Do you worry that they might come to Old Trafford and sort of give us a telling off, or do you think Mourinho knows what he's doing?
I think the recent history should teach Jose to up his game a bit. But to be honest, United always up the game against the bigger teams. The worry is when they go and play against the Harrogate Town. Do you know what I mean?
And get battered by Harrogate.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm sure they'll be aware of this. Well, of course they'll be aware of the situation. It's always horrible to lose against the Blues, isn't it? So
it really is. There's a lot of United fans maybe with their head down, and I think a word
they need
from
to pull the
this is what I want. This is what I want from you, Rick. A word from you just to say, listen, keep your head up. It's a long season. I'm Rick Witter. Sort your life out. Take the wheel.
I think you need to pull your socks up, guys. You know what the goal is at the end of the day, the aim. Just imagine May time when you're holding those medals close to your chest.
Rick, thank you very much.
No worries.
But now it's time to get to the serious topics, because Newcastle is on the weekend and we need to discuss... Well, we just need to discuss it. There we go. Statman Dave, let's talk about the question. If anyone's missed the question, can you give it? The question of the day. It's rock hard this week.
Question of the day today. Since Marouane Fellaini joined Manchester United, what percentage of Ash Young's... Sorry, that is an absolute write-off. We've done it wrong. Since joining Manchester United, how many of Marouane Fellaini's goals have been assisted by Ash Young? I want a percentage. Apologies for that error.
87711. Only one person has got it right so far, Matt on Twitter. Before we get to the Newcastle preview, Webby, it's that time of the day where you get something off your chest. Take it over.
Yeah, it's that international football thing again. Looks like we've lost our best defender of the season, Phil Jones, through injury. I don't know who he's going to be out for. I don't think he's going to play Saturday. But who in the right mind has made him play coming on with a strapping? If you've got a strapping for me, you're not 100% fit. Meaningless friendly. We've lost out again. And what was just a waste of time. These friendly, we've qualified. Forget about international friendlies now until... before, say, a couple of months before the World Cup. He knows what his team is. And like you said, it's our loss. that we've lost the best defender we've had this season. So total waste of time. And once again, us as a club are paying for it. Moan over there. Let's
talk about Newcastle United. It is on Saturday. It's going to be a good game. Old Trafford will be bouncing. And Statman Dave, you can tell us a bit more about. We can obviously talk about United, the strengths and the weaknesses. But what can we be sort of thinking towards Newcastle? Where are they going to sort of get us? And how do you think they might set up against United?
Well, I think they're quite a rigid team. They're defensively very strong. Rafa Benitez, is a manager that likes to have two banks of four, two strikers that all work very hard in a unit, and I think that's their strength this season. Only Manchester City, Manchester United, Spurs and Burnley have conceded fewer goals than Newcastle in the Premier League this season. So I think it's how to unlock that deep defence, because when they transition back, when they're defending their own penalty box, it's almost a back six. We've seen that for United in recent years under Mourinho, but that's pretty much every single game for Rafa Benitez. So I think for me, it's about exposing the space in between the fullback and the centre half, but it's sort of drawing them out of their shape. It's almost getting a centre half, driving through, drawing the pressure and then slipping it past that and their third man run through. In simple terms, they just want to get the big sort of stiff centre halves in those wide areas, expose them and then cross the ball. But it's going to be a difficult game for United. It's going to be another game at Old Trafford where a team will come and sit back so deep and look to sort of stifle United in an attacking sense.
And obviously, when they come, do you think that the Mourinho, in a way, is going to let them play, or do you think that Benitez is going to think that United are going to come out, they're going to attack us, so maybe they might change things up in a way?
I think it will be a defensive performance. I think that's when Newcastle have been the best this season. They've scored 10 goals this season, which is quite poor over the games. But I do think it will be about the tempo and the pace. And as if Webby's right with Paul Pogba, that's a massive part of the United team that can break this Newcastle block down, that can draw players out. I think that's a big thing. If Paul Pogba can go round the man deep in midfield, you've got a great avenue to attack.
Andy Tate, how important is this game that United get things back onto winning ways?
Yeah,
for the fans.
For the fans, it's a chance to get back to Old Trafford and see Pogba. Hopefully, like I say, come Saturday night, we could be 11 points behind City. It's not a nice thing to say, but we need a performance. We need team to work together, and we just need goals and basically start from there.
Webby, do you think it's important the United fans get back to winning ways? And it's the mentality of the fans as well, because we need a bit more positivity around the ground, around the football we're playing. But is Mourinho going to go out and set up like that?
Early goal changes the game, mate. We get an early goal and they've got to change their plan. Like Dave was saying, they get points like they're winning this World Cup for them.
Yeah.
So they're going to come, so we get an early goal and everything's got to change, which of his Pogba plays. Then I think he's like you're saying, he's creating players to come on. It's leaving spaces for other players to do their game, And he's got to be back. He's got to be back. I've been told he's back, and I fancy us to beat him. We get an early goal. I fancy 3 or 4.
3 or 4, and it'd be good to get back to things winning ways because
we've got to win, Joe. Full stop. Because City's going to win at Leicester.
You don't know that.
City, Manchester City will win at Leicester on Saturday. I don't want to.
They're not invincible.
Yeah, but the only thing that can stop
nobody's invincible, Andy. But at the end of the day, it breaks my heart saying I come in the first show here. Whoever gets above them will win the league. And at the moment, you can't knock the football, and it hurts me.
I'm not knocking him.
Do you see City slipping up?
I think it's an interesting one. I think last year that Leicester actually beat City.
Leicester.
But I think that this is a different City. I think that's the big thing, that City have so much depth and attack that they didn't have last year. You think in those 3 forward positions, they've got so much talent there.
They've got no injuries, no suspensions at the moment. Let's see how they deal with it if it happens. That's it.
Less about them, more about United, because we've got some attacking options that we should sort of focus on. Martial got a lot of praise online for his France performance, absolutely just sort of stealing the show with his footwork. The French team obviously looking at Martial going, why have we not had this guy in the squad for a while? Is he key at the start, or do you stick him on the bench and use him as Mourinho has been doing in past games?
I think that with this, I don't think it's the nature of whether you play Martial or Marcus Rashford. I think they're both cracking options.
Yeah.
I think this could be a game for Anthony Martial, because I don't think Newcastle will give United a lot going forward. If Martial can isolate Yedlin, the right back for Newcastle, he's quick, but he's not a smart defender. He's not a defender's defender, so Martial can face him up and go around him. But for me, the big guy that has to be in the starting 11 is, of course, Juan Mata. I think that without Mata in the side...
So he's key for you?
For me, Mata is key, not just because it's Juan Mata, not because of his movement, how he's good on the ball, he's got this guile, he's got this ability to drift into space. It's more about Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan and Mata, when they play together, is when United play well. You look at them when they've started this season...
So you still keep Mkhitaryan on?
I think he needs a break. He needs a break. He's getting a lot of criticism, which is unfair. I think he just needs to sit this one out.
But then the break might not be needed if what you're saying, Dave, is he works well with Mata.
So the stats, right, for when Mkhitaryan and Mata have started together in the Premier League, United have scored 3.17 goals per game. Compared to when they haven't started together, United down to 0.8. That's a fact alone. But the big thing, if you look into the data... Juan Mata's passed the ball more to Henrik Mkhitaryan than any other United player this season. The link is there. How United sort of recycle the ball, of course, Nemanja Matic wins it, plays it to Pogba, then Pogba to Juan Mata, then Mata to Mkhitaryan. That's sort of how the pass map works for Manchester United this season. That's the most frequent between those players. So it's a big thing, Juan Mata. I think it's just this thing where Mkhitaryan needs someone to help him in a creative sense.
Where would you start, Mkhitaryan?
Yeah, I do, yeah. But like Dave said, with Mata, you know, let's go back to what we started at the start of the season.
Exactly.
Now, I think with Mkhitaryan, like Andy said about giving him a break, I think some of his stick has been justified. You know, I think he's been in some great positions and he's messed up. Now, do we give him a break? I know what Fergie would have done. Fergie might have sent him to Barbados for 2 weeks and put your feet up, you know, like he did with Schmeichel, come back a rejuvenated player.
Yeah.
Schmeichel dropped the ball, he sent it to Barbados for 2 weeks, come back, we won the league. Let's go with that. Let's go with what we started off with, obviously, with Mata and Mkhitaryan.
And it's gone. Sorry,
just the last thing on Mkhitaryan. So the really interesting part there is, I think it was before when he just started to hit this bad patch of form. Only Lukaku, Nemanja Matic, and David De Gea played more minutes for Man United. If you take their roles in the side, you've got Lukaku that plays up front that does a lot of running, but it's short sprints. You've got Nemanja Matic who's breaking the play up. Henrik Mkhitaryan in that period was the sole United creator. So it's a lot of responsibility and it's a lot of mental work. It's a lot of physical work and it's quite a draining position. So I think the rest has been good, but now it's time to play those 90 minutes again for Mkhitaryan.
How are we looking at the back at the minute? Are you confident that we can just keep one of the best defensives in the Premier League?
Sorry, you look at Lindelof in those 2 games against Italy, absolute colossal.
This is the thing, honestly.
Absolute, you wouldn't believe it's the same player. Let's give him 3 or 4 games.
100%.
And then, do you know what? Watching those 2 games there, you won't think it was the same player.
It's crazy to see him, how in the Champions League he's looked so good on the ball, but defensively he's looked like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's a great defender. He's one of the best young defenders in the world. The thing that I struggle with is how he's not reading the play well, because that last season for me was really good. He's got great pace, he can cover really well. The wide areas, that's what United need in a modern day centre-back. You think Ramos, Varane, best 2 in the world. Yeah. What do they do well? They defend wide areas. And he can do that. Obviously Eric Bailly can do that. You've got those 2 guys. You're laughing in 4 years. Again, 2 leaders in the making, Eric Bailly and Lindelof. Yeah,
and everyone's playing well and everyone's getting sort of game time they need. Dave, do you see a defence in mind for you, 3 at the back, 4 at the back, that can win the Premier League? Who in your head sticks in the defence for Manchester United and can go on to a defence like we've had in the past that can win the Premier League?
This season, it's got to be Phil Jones. He's got to be in there. He's been our best defender, but I think Eric Bailly's a great foil to Phil Jones. Eric Bailly, a little bit more aggressive. What I've liked about Phil Jones is a little bit more conservative this season. Not as aggressive going into challenges, not as aggressive in the air. He likes to sweep up and sit behind, but he's been brilliant. And that injury is just such it's frustration. Yeah. It's so frustrating because the World Cup is down the line. Yes, he's playing for his place, but his club form will get him the place in the World Cup. Not a meaningless friendly in November, the year before the World Cup in a way. So it's one of these situations where
the club comes first.
I agree.
There's no point in this international friend level. Fellaini previously got injured playing for Belgium. There was no need to play him in a meaningless World Cup qualifier. And look, he's just come back now, so we're back to square one. We've gained 1, we've lost 1, and there's got to be a line drawn with internationals. Clubs have got to make a stand.
Is that it now till next year for friendly?
March is the next one.
It'll soon be here. It'll soon be here.
I won't even bother.
It'll soon be here. Where do you think United will be come March, Webby?
Hopefully a point behind City. That'd be a touch. Like you're saying, it's
tough to think
Joe,
about.
The next 4 games, Newcastle, Brighton, Watford, Arsenal, we have got to take 12 points. Simple.
And before the big one at Old Trafford.
Dave, where do you think United will be come March?
I think they'll be in second position. I honestly think that they're heads and shoulders above, like Manchester City, the rest of the clubs, in terms of being a strong defensive force, good going forward when the players are fit. But at the moment, I just can't see it. It reminds me of the Barcelona, Real Madrid days when Mourinho was over there with Pep Guardiola. It's the same thing. The Barcelona team was amazing. Yep. The Real Madrid team was a really good team in terms of the counter-attack. They scored the most goals in a Liga season with Mourinho.
They won the Copa del Rey and Barca won the other two.
That's the kind of situation I see right now, that United may come second this year, may come second the year after, then they'll win the league. But the thing with this is...
just a challenge. We just want a challenge and see where we go from there.
That's it. I think that United transition this season, second position, it's not the worst thing in the world. What I want to see is competitiveness in the Champions League. That's all I care about. Yeah. That'll be great. United semi-final, Champions League quarter-final, that'll be a successful season. Along with the league. The league's obviously a bonus.
Couple of cups as well.
Dave, you're going to have to tell us, before I get predictions from you, the answer to your question. Tell us your question and then your answer, because we've not got long left.
So the question was, since Marouane Fellaini joined Manchester United, what percentage of goals that Fellaini scored were assisted by Ashley Young's crosses?
Anyone? Go on with me.
36%.
Oh, it's a 36%. Ding. There's my little ding sound effect. Use that for the first time. Prediction, Statman Dave.
I'm going to go 4-0. I think that
4-0. Back to the 4-0 FC.
An early goal. I think with Pogba back in his side, the reactive style that they can play, it's going to be a hammer in the hope.
Andy?
I'm going 3-0.
And Webby?
3-1 again.
3-1 again. Thank you very much for listening to the Full-Time Devils Takeover. We'll be bringing you the weekend preview of Mickey Thomas tomorrow, so don't go anywhere. Listen to us and stay next for Mark Matthews.